At the moment, there are very few racing games created specifically for the PS5. The good news is, however, that thanks to backwards compatibility, all of the great racing games you might have acquired for your PS4 are also playable on PS5. In many cases they might look and play a little better too. Either way, we're here to help with a roundup of what are currently the best racing games playable on PS5. But before we start this video, please subscribe to my channel Games Puff and press the bell icon for more gaming videos. So without any further ado, let's start this video. The first game of this video is WRC9. WRC9 was fantastic on last-gen consoles, but it truly is best played on PS5. A serious rally game that will push players to the limit of their abilities, though less strenuous than Dirt Rally 2.0, the PS5 version of WRC9 boasts improved visuals, quick load times, and a silky smooth 60 FPS frame rate. Those alone make it stand out from its last-gen console counterparts, but then there's also DualSense support to factor in. Basically, WRC9 has the best DualSense implementation we've yet felt in a racing game. Next up we have Need for Speed Heat. Need for Speed Heat is the best Need for Speed game released in a very long time. While there isn't a native PS5 version, PS4 Pro support, as well as the usual improvements playing backwards compatible titles on PS5, means it's a racing game you should definitely have in your collection. Essentially, it's a game of two halves. During the daytime in Need for Speed Heat, you'll be competing in legally sanctioned street races with roads closed and barriers put in place. If you win, you take home a nice wad of cash to tune up and customize your cars with. Venture out at night, however, and the gloves are off. Next up we have Ride 4. Prefer racing bikes rather than cars? You're going to want to add Ride 4 to your games collection. Released last year on PS4, Xbox One and PC, a next-gen version of Ride 4 is making its way to consoles soon. And the good news is, if you already own it on PS4 or Xbox One, you get a free upgrade. So, if you have a PS5 and pick up the PS4 version Ride 4 right now, you can get stuck into one of the best bike racing games ever made and secure yourself the next-gen version the day it launches. Next up we have Wreckfest. If you're of a certain age, you might remember the Destruction Derby games released on the original PlayStation console. Wreckfest is essentially the modern-day equivalent, developed by the studio that gave us the excellent Flatout and its brilliant sequel. Most of the events you encounter as you make your way through Wreckfest's leagues are races, but whereas slamming into your opponents is usually frowned upon, here it is welcomed. In fact, the best way to play Wreckfest is to turn the damage modeling up to realistic straight away. It makes each and every event more tense and fraught with danger. Next up we have Gran Turismo Sport. Honestly, we were pretty disappointed with Gran Turismo Sport when it launched. It looked great and played well, just like previous Gran Turismo games, but its lack of content and online multiplayer focus just did nothing for us. Since then, however, a wealth of single-player content has been added to the game, making it a much more rounded affair. New cars, tracks and features have been introduced too, all for free. Next up we have F1 2020. All of Codemasters F1 games over the last few years have been brilliant, but we really don't know how they'll top F1 2020. No doubt when F1 2021 arrives later this year, it'll look a lot prettier than F1 2020 as it will actually be made with PS5 in mind. It'll likely run at 60 FPS, too, and have DualSense support. Until then, however, if you're a F1 fan, you can't go wrong with picking up F1 2020 and enjoying it. Share them with the rest of the world. Next up we have MXGP 2020. Milestone's MXGP 2020 unfortunately doesn't have any new modes or features to boast about over MXGP 2019. What it does have on PS5, however, is improved visuals, DualSense support, and a much smoother frame rate. On PS5, MXGP 2020 runs at 60 FPS at up to 4K resolution, meaning the series has never looked or played better. In career mode you'll start at MX2 level, either riding for a team or going it alone with the help of sponsors. Perform well enough, and eventually you'll make your way up to MXGP level. It's here where the action truly steps up a gear. Next up we have Wipeout Omega Collection. Like you're racing a little more futuristic? Check out Wipeout Omega Collection if you haven't already done so. It's one of the best racing games on PS4, and so is also currently one of the best racing games on PS5. Combining the content of Wipeout 2048, Wipeout HD and Wipeout HD Fury, Wipeout Omega Collection is the ultimate package for anti-gravity racing fans. Enhanced for PS4 Pro, its visuals are still pleasing on the eyes when it's played on PS5. A silky smooth frame rate means the world speeds by at an alarming pace, just like it should. The last game of this video is Burnout Paradise Remastered. You know a game's really good when, years after its release, you still find yourself going back to it and having a jolly good time. Burnout Paradise is one such game. And thanks to it being remastered, it doesn't even look all that dated. Playable on PS5 thanks to backwards compatibility, PS4 Pro support means that Burnout Paradise Remastered runs at 60 FPS at 4K resolution. For an arcade racer that pays dividends, as it means the controls are wonderfully responsive and the visuals are so sharp that you can see clearly ahead of you, even when driving at an insane speed. So that's the list of 10 best racing games on PS5 that you can play in 2021. If you enjoy this video, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel Games Puff and press the bell icon for more gaming updates.